Can you tell us a bit about yourself? How did you start practicing and who are you now?
Who am I now? I don't know. I know my name, and my name is Amy Hollowell. I have a Zen title, which is Roshi, which just is a Japanese word, means venerable teacher. So I am a Zen teacher, obviously, if I have that title. And I have been doing this Zen practice for 25 years. I came to it in a moment of my life when I was confused about where I was going in my life, who I was. My main question was, who am I? And I stumbled upon this practice. But as we say, it's always an accident when we find something like this. And what I found was who I am, but it was an accident. I had never been someone who was interested in Zen, in any kind of spirituality, except when I was very young and I had kind of an affinity for mystical Christian type things and poetry, and I'm a poet, so that those things kind of go together, poetry and spirituality, but I didn't know that. And so when I came to Zen practice, I was completely free of any ideas about what spiritual practice was, what Zen was. I had no opinions really about it because I knew nothing, which is what we call beginner's mind in this practice. In the Zen world, we call it beginner's mind. It means it's a fresh mind that therefore can experience directly what is in a new way without having preconceived notions that fix us on one idea or another. So what happened to me was I was wondering who I was, and someone told me about a workshop where that was the question, who am I? And I did that, and during that workshop, the question no longer had any meaning. What I had thought I was looking for is not what I found. I had no idea that I was looking for what I found. However, when I found it, when I experienced me, my true nature, it was clear. The world was completely different. It was as if a veil had been lifted. And I saw things, myself, and all things just as they are. This was a very exhilarating experience and intoxicating to the point where I wanted to repeat that workshop again and again. I did not, however, because in the meantime, someone recommended that I do meditation. And I tried it on my own, by myself. I loved it. And then I wanted to find other people who meditated. And this person who had shown me how to meditate suggested the name of a Zen teacher. And I went to see her, and it ended up being the woman who became my teacher. Catherine Guénaud-Pagès in Paris, a French woman. And she was the first person who I met who understood what I was talking about when I told her this experience I had had of experiencing my true nature, of experiencing who I am. Everyone else had thought it sounded interesting or funny or like a drug trip. No one else knew what I was talking about. She knew, I knew immediately, and she thought it was nothing special. She acted as if it was nothing special. And that was quite a relief for me, because everyone else had acted like it was something special, and I was convinced it was something special. So to have someone say it's nothing special, that's the reality of life, was such a relief. And so I started practicing Zen with her. and eventually lived with her. We started a community together in Paris. And I lived there with my 2 children and my husband and some other Zen students. And through that experience of living there for 7 years, I directly had the experience of no separation between life, everyday life, and what we consider Zen practice. Of course, there is a moment when you're sitting on a cushion meditating. There's a moment when you're changing diapers. It's not the same activity, but it's the same life. Changing diapers is practice. Sitting on the cushion is life. That changed my life, that experience. Changed my practice as well. And throughout these years, I realized that what I wanted to do was to share this practice with others. From the very beginning, when I had been sitting by myself and went looking for other people to sit with, it was from a desire to share this with others. And that desire became stronger. And I loved the community, and I loved being with my teacher. But my teacher wanted me to share in a different way. She wanted me to tell people about my experience. And that was very difficult in the beginning because I never talked about it. I never said anything. My teacher would give teachings, talks. A lot of people would talk and ask questions and participate, and I never said anything. And so the first time my teacher asked me to go in front of the community and say something, everyone was very surprised to hear what I had to say. And so was I, actually. However, I knew that it was important. And I knew that's what I wanted to do with my life. I still had my children. I had my job. I worked as a journalist. I had my husband. I had my writing. But all of that was just, though each of those things were just different expressions of my practice, which was to be one with my life, one with all things. Because in fact, that's what the experience in the beginning was awakening, seeing the oneness of life, seeing what I had seen as separate, myself separate from others, from the plants, from the sky, from the cars, the trains. Seeing myself separate had caused me so much pain and confusion. But once that I saw who I truly was and saw who, therefore, what the others were, we were both one. When I awoke to this a oneness of all things, the suffering fell away. Didn't mean I didn't have difficulties in my life, and I still do have difficulties in my life. I still face sickness, old age, and death, like everyone. At the same time, my experience of sickness, old age, and death are completely different than they had been before.